Hello, everyone, and welcome to a May 6th edition of ADP Chasing. We've had about a week of drafting since the NFL draft, and ADPs are moving all over the place. Rookies are still steaming up. Cowboys, running backs are steaming way up the boards. We'll break that all down and more. This is ADP Chasing. Let's do it.
Pat Fryer Helmo.
This is why I'm hot.
Anita Handjob.
Fix your site.
Jamar. Alpha play chase. Are you kidding me? Kadarius Toney?
You can't handle the heat.
It looks like we're finally at this point. You're right.
Good afternoon, fellas. How are we doing? Week into drafting season or post-drafting season? How are you guys doing?
Doing great, man. I'm having a hard time. Are you guys having a hard time not drafting as much right now before the schedule is out? I'm currently having that issue.
Well, what you do is you max center slow the mini schnauzer. That'll kind of hold you off a little.
Yeah, I 9-tabled the schnauzer. Just fired them all at once and got it done on the day it opened. So can't do that.
Yeah. I've been limiting myself for Best Ball Mania to cardio only drafts. That's been my way of limiting myself. I think I've only done like 5 or 6, but yeah, it's hard. I mean, the release is coming soon. I think I read somewhere it's usually the first or second Thursday in May. So I think it's going to be this week, right?
It's supposed to be Thursday night is what the sources are saying.
I just feel like what am I gaining versus losing? You know what I mean? Like, and the ADP values are kind of settling a little bit. I mean, they're not fully settled, but are they going to be like that much more settled by Thursday? So I did some DK, their Millie contest. Because my thing with that contest is like, I didn't even max it last year when I should have. But I just like, it's hard to get enough bullets in over there. So, I just, anytime I feel the draft itch, I just do one of those.
Well, you got to do 25 in May, right?
You got to do 25 in May as well.
Yeah, 25 in May to maximize rake back. If any of you guys don't know that, actually you need to do 26 because I think the first one is free and they don't count that. You get a free ticket, so I think you need to do 26 in May.
Okay, that's good.
Got it. So you get like what? You get $100 back or something if you do that.
Every entry gets 5 free. Then what they'll do for those of you who are planning on maxing is there's going to be a different offer every month. And then there also is going to be a cumulative reward for doing 150. You could basically end up doing the DK Millie rake free if you play the tickets and everything correctly.
Got it.
You don't have to do anything, right? You just draft the teams and that's it.
Sometimes you have to opt in. This one you do not. Sometimes you have to opt in to the promos. But for this, you do not.
Got it. Let's dive in here, guys, to the ADP risers and fallers. Pulling up now the biggest risers since, I guess it wasn't really ADP risers. It's almost like initial rank risers to today. Whatever that was in there originally was not really ADP. It was kind of initial ranks. We have here 2 of the biggest risers are Zeke Elliott and Rico Dowdle. They're both up. You know, Zeke's up 73 spots. He's actually flipped Dowdle. He goes at pick 133 now. And Dowdle goes at 141. Still feels like fairly cheap prices, but I'll start with you, Davis. What's been your approach to the Dallas backfield?
So I just updated my ranks today. I have Dowdle ahead of Elliott, I think by like 3 spots. It's definitely a low conviction thing because the deal with Zeke is we've always been forced to pay for the guaranteed touches. And look, I hate it as much as you guys do, but in Mike McCarthy's mind, in Jerry Jones's mind, in Dak's mind, in Elliott's mind, he was not signed to share this backfield with Rico Dowdle. I promise you beyond a shadow of a doubt, that is not the idea that the organization has. They are completely planning on just Zeke, we go as Zeke goes, right? I mean, that is the way that it feels. The thing is he just has got like no giddy up left. The only possible way he ends up featuring on winning teams is if he He actually does what the opposite of Pollard did, where Pollard just could not score touchdowns from the 1 yard line. If Zeke just scores every short yardage touch he gets, and obviously Dowdle has like just massive contingent value and should play some passing down stuff as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. The way I was thinking about it in terms of like if you want to talk yourself into the upside of Zeke, it's maybe like the Leonard Fournette 2021 season, right? Like not the season where he split with Rachaad White and kind of sucked, but the season before that where he didn't do anything great, but he just accumulated a bunch of red zone looks, a decent amount of receptions. It's not a super high upside case, right? It's like RB2 land probably, but that's how I'm thinking of it. Pat, are you starting with Zeke? Are you ahead or behind on Zeke at this current ADP? What are your thoughts?
Basically even. I think Davis is right. I flipped Elliott as he was making that point. We had them back to back, and I just put Zeke ahead. I'm okay Zeke kind of getting away from me at this point, but I think he's fine here still. And I think the upside case is basically just what he was last year, like kind of just really boring dump off stuff. But they trust him in pass protection, so he'll be out there. He's not like out there to be a pass catcher, but he's out there to not screw stuff up, and he can do that. It is tough to draft a guy who I think is like completely washed. So, I find Dowdle to be a little bit more intriguing as like, he
maybe there's something there.
Maybe there's something there. Yeah. He hasn't like played enough to even like register any metrics, but he looks interesting whenever he's out there. So
the most infuriating thing, Pat, on that is NFL Next Gen Stats. I think you need a minimum of 90 carries to get charted for that, and he had 89 last year.
Oh no, really?
We were literally one away from getting the Rico Dowdle success rate numbers, but we couldn't quite get there.
Oh, it's brutal.
Yeah, so I did pull up like PFF has some stuff on him. They will dabble in the smaller sample stuff. If you compare
40.9% success rate from Pro Football Reference for Rico.
Okay. I don't know if the definition of success rate is the same on Next Gen, so I don't know how to compare that to Zeke. Yeah. But anyways.
And the success, I really like the Next Gen stuff because they can like see the location of the defenders and stuff. And so it's one of my favorite metrics, those two. So it's a shame we don't have it.
The thing with Zeke, and this is what we're talking about, like, this, if you look at Zeke in this chart here, this explains like who he is and who he isn't now. He can be still a competent receiver, 1.3 yards per route run last year. That's a top 12 number for running back in the NFL. He can catch dump offs and not make mistakes in pass protection. He'll be out in the field doing that sort of thing. And then success rate, 42%. That was 15th best among, 50 or so running backs last year. Again, he could be effective in short yardage stuff, but man, look, the breakaway rate is hilariously bad. 2.6% breakaway rate. I think that means he had maybe like 1 or 2 carries over 15 plus yards last year on all of his touches. That's really bad. So, I mean, he is truly washed from like a breakaway, long speed, all of that. Can he be competent enough to accumulate touches with Jerry Jones, putting his weight behind him? Sure, I guess. I think it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of like...
It's definitely possible. It's just like, what do you win when you win with Zeke? Very, very little. He's like, Pat, he's like reverse James White, where it's like he can get you a floor by scoring a touchdown per week. But like weeks he scores a touchdown, it's like he gets like 13.6 points.
The thing that scares me about Zeke, and the reason I am drafting some of them, is that I think you might win something when you win because he's out there on passing downs.
Sure.
He's like you're getting like dump off stuff, which can kind of get you there on its own. And then if he's also the goal line back, I mean, he could be Jamal Williams. Could he be Jamal Williams on the Cowboys?
Yeah,
kind of could.
Easy just posted in the chat. Zeke's price right now is cheaper than Jamal Williams was in 2022.
That's the bet.
Yeah.
So and if he's Jamal Williams from 2022, you win at this price. I mean, very clearly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he's pretty draftable.
My take too is like, Unless I think the question on the Cowboys running backs is like, is there a high chance of them bringing in
Oh, so
someone
Easy
else?
was lying. He noted he was lying. He was actually going much later than this.
He pulled
We just
a real
accepted it.
he pulled a real
Yeah.
Davis on that
I
one. It's just
mean,
like
yeah.
theoretically it sounded true. So
Yeah, he went full Davis.
If it makes it part of a good argument, that's fine. You're allowed to lie on ADP
Correct.
chasing.
correct. Yes.
But so my point with these two is like, unless they're gonna bring in someone else significant, I think they're both just smashes at pick 130, 140. And I sort of compiled like, who are we worried about them adding here? I think it would be one of these trade or cut candidates.
You don't have the right name to worry about on here. There's actually one guy who would be gettable in a trade and would come in and immediately be a 7th round pick. Dameon Pierce. If the Cowboys traded a conditional
Pierce
5th round pick, no, he's not. He definitely is not. No, come on.
Done. Dude, they just didn't. They buried him. They were like, "Yeah, you're not it."
Singletary
he lost his job so bad to Devon Singletary.
He's not the first and won't be the last.
Zeke would run circles around Dameon Pierce.
I don't know. I mean, I think Khalil Herbert is the other one. I think
that's a good one.
Yeah,
Herbert's got some juice.
The two that would immediately make me draft differently would be Khalil Herbert and Dameon Pierce.
I'm not sure Dameon Pierce would beat out Trey Sermon.
Oh, come on. Dameon Pierce was a good player as a rookie, and he just didn't play last year.
Yeah, because he got benched is why I didn't play.
I mean, a lot of guys it's just like we've been having this whole argument in the ship chasing Discord for like the last 3 hours about running back production. It really just matters who the coaches are going to give the ball to. And I would imagine, because I've seen it done, that Pierce can just handle 250 touches in a way that I don't think Dowdle probably can.
I mean, physically, he can hold up to 250 touches, but I don't think he's got I don't think he's going to compel anyone to do that.
Yeah, but I think the overall point is any name on this list, even the best one, say we think it's Khalil Herbert, it's still not a guarantee that Khalil Herbert comes in and steals the job. I think you'd probably be the favorite, and it would matter what they traded for him. But there's just not last year and prior years. There's been these free agents hanging around like Leonard Fournette, Dalvin Cook, etc. I mean, all these guys ended up being dust anyways. But there was at least these name brand guys that could have come in and stolen a lot of touches. And this year, I just don't think Josh Kelly's going to sign or Cam Akers going to sign. I mean,
last year was the year of the free agent running back. It was Fournette, Kareem Hunt. There was another one.
Dalvin Cook, once he got cut.
Cook. Yeah.
Even Deontay Foreman, I think, could come in and steal a good part of this job, but he's in Cleveland now. So, yeah. I agree. It's not like anybody that's lurking really. The Bears guys, I mean, they've got Swift, Roschon. If they decide to keep Travis Homer and they cut Khalil Herbert, that would shake things up.
You never know. People
do forget Travis Homer got a lot of guaranteed money on that roster.
People do forget.
Let's move here to maybe more exciting name, Ben Sinnott. I'm not sure how we're pronouncing his name.
I've been saying
Sinnott.
Sinnott is I don't know. I guess I should know.
But,
this is an Achane situation where until we're sure, let's just say what sounds coolest.
What sounds good.
And it's Sinnott.
Sinnott.
Okay.
He's up. I think he's the biggest riser at tight end, up 75 spots. He got the unexpectedly high 2nd round draft capital, which is obviously driving this. Curious, Pat, I know you dug into the rookie tight ends. What is Sinnott what are we getting in this player? What kind of tight end archetype are we talking about? And what's his sort of path to success in 2024?
Yeah, he was an interesting guy because he was sort of a mixed use, H-back type of guy. He did not win the Mackey Award in college. He won the award for best
low man.
Yeah, so he was the nation's best fullback. Which isn't, what we want to hear about a tight end, but he, throughout the entire pre-draft process, was treated as a tight end, and he's going to play, it sounds like, traditional tight end in the NFL. I thought he had a pretty interesting profile. He was my tight end 2 pre-draft behind Brock Bowers. I ended up moving him ahead of Jatavion Sanders. I had Sanders ahead for a while, but his pro day was terrible, and I thought that would affect his draft capital. It did. And then Sinnott went higher than I even thought. But he's good after the catch is probably like where if you're looking for him to like, what's he bring to the table as a receiver? He's really good after the catch. He was also pretty good in the intermediate area. So you can add kind of playmaking, like kind of downfield, not like super deep downfield, but 10 plus yards downfield, adding yak on top of that. And he's really athletic. He had a 4.68 40, 6.82 3-cone, a 40-inch vertical, 126-inch broad jump. So you are getting that really, really high RAS score, 9.73 RAS. It was just a little bit below Theo Johnson there, but it's become kind of an edge just to like, treat the guys who are super athletic, just not the very most athletic guy in the class, and get excited about them. And he definitely fits that. So, you're betting on him to kind of be in a Zach Ertz type of role, big receiver kind of guy they move around.
It's a real battle of the bags here situation where I've got a lot of Sinnott bags and I plan on continuing to draft him, but also the Ertz big board bags are, these two things are not aligned. So Sinnott was recruited as a fullback to K-State. He played fullback for his first 2 years. He switched to tight end, had 31 receptions his first year playing tight end, and then led the team in receiving last year. I mean, I think at tight end, Pat and I have talked about this a lot. Like, it's just a weird position where it's very hard to learn. It's hard to learn to block and run routes. And, you have to learn it's just very difficult to play. There's a reason why NFL teams take so many of these guys and then we never hear from them because it's just hard to be good at. And it's also why hits at the position are so weird. Why, like, you have guys who were drafted in the 5th round who were just good forever, because it's just kind of random. Now, this is where I'm having a hard time. I'm trying to not be so much of a slappy this year, where I'm just like, whatever. I like Ben Sinnott, so I'm just gonna chase him all the way up the board. I mean, right now, it's so frothy, right? Like
it does feel a little frothy, yeah.
It's like the
kind
tight
of
end
immediately got
18
away
now.
from us. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is the effect, I think, of the people who are drafting right now. I saw some thread on it. I'm going to forget who posted it, but essentially rookie ADPs like reach their peak around this time of year, maybe early June, and then steadily kind of like drift back towards a more, steady state later ADP later. I think we're getting a little bit of that effect with Sinnott, where it's just guys like us who love seeing the guys who don't have the profile pictures and underdog. And we're like, oh, I want that guy because he's a rookie.
Yeah, but I know we just had this incredible year of rookie tight ends, and I think he kind of fits where he could have a strong rookie season for sure. But there is another guy there who does a similar thing. You've got a mobile quarterback. I'm not sure like exactly how much pass volume we'll have in Washington, and he's already starting to get up where it's like, are you taking him over Hunter Henry, who just got a big quarterback upgrade, like an offensive, not being a total disaster potential upgrade, and there's like not any wide receivers other than rookies to compete with? Like, Hunter Henry can play tight end. Like, that's not a question. There's actually a question of whether or not Ben Sinnott can even play tight end this season. Like, I don't mean as opposed to fullback, but like how many snaps does he get? There's a veteran there like that he's got to beat out. It could take a while. So I want to be in on Sinnott, but I guess I don't know. I'm struggling to get. He's already at the 162 in ADP.
You want to take him. You want to take him with Daniels, like he gets a huge boost
for sure
with Jaden Daniels. You probably want him a little bit, but I mean, so the chat is kind of making this point, but I don't think they're making the point that they think they are in a weird. So they're saying, oh, it's because of all the rookie tight ends doing good last year. Like Laporta finished tight end 1, so now everyone thinks rookie tight ends are good. But that was the argument we were making last year for Laporta, which is just rookie tight ends just don't play. That's been the issue historically, is that rookie tight ends just do not get on the field. It's not that there's some mystifying magic that hangs over you as a rookie tight end that says you can't score fantasy points. It's just that by and large, they don't get on the field. I mean, the roadblocks in front of Sinnott are they're old and they're slow, right? I mean, it's Ertz, and they still might do a ton of 12 also. Like, if you think about it, what's their base personnel? Like, they're going to want to run with their quarterback, and they don't really have, outside of McLaurin, any wide receiver who like really deserves to be on the field. I guess we'll see what happens with Nepo baby McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Was Cliff he was around 2 years ago, right? And
he played Ertz over McBride.
He sat Trey McBride.
He sat Trey McBride. This guy played Zach Ertz over Trey McBride.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a red flag.
That's a big red flag. Yeah, that's a big red flag.
Well, I come out, I win either way. Either my Sinnott bags win in Best Ball Mania, or the Ertz big board bags win. So it's fine.
Yeah. I do think like 165, I think it's like trending towards overpriced, but I still think, I don't know, I'd probably take him over Cade Otton, just the upside element. I think it's like, and Cade Otton goes right next to him there. I do think what's going to happen, like, be ready, like, especially if you play in like redraft, like a tight end premium league, like, get ready for weeks 1 through 5 for Sinnott to have a 20% route rate and Zach Ertz to be the starter. I think by the end of the season, we see probably a lot of Sinnott, and that's what we're drafting for in these contests. But it's not going to be like, I can almost guarantee this is not going to be fun to start the year with Sinnott and Ertz. Like, it's going to be annoying.
We will all be playing $3,300 Zach Ertz in week 2 on DraftKings, like 1,000,000,000%. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is that like Cade Otton's going to run a ton of routes. Like, I actually feel pretty confident. What are you looking for at tight end this late? And the way tight end breaks down, like, to me, I'm trying to get my tight ends done pretty early. So I've got a lot of rooms that are like, like Mark Andrews, and like I'm done with Evan. I might go Evan Ingram, or I might go Dallas Goedert, Big Ferguson.
I don't do that. That's kind of all the rage right now, is the double top 10 tight end. I don't like doing that. I prefer to do, in a tournament where we are trying to win, half a Kyren, or I guess 0.75s of a Kyren. We are, I like to do one elite tight end and then one shitter, and just say, I can get 6.4 fantasy points from Dawson Knox the same as I can from Dalton Schultz. Like I really just do.
So Sinnott works pretty well for that.
Correct.
He works pretty well for that. And sometimes I feel like if I don't have the elite, I like a Cade Otton, I like a Juwan Johnson, I like a Hunter Henry as like, these guys have jobs. And I'm like, if Sinnott doesn't have a job, which he might not, it gets a little tougher for me to lean on. And I don't like, if I don't have but I probably should pair more Sinnott with the elite. I like that.
Sinnott is probably worse when it's Luke Musgrave, Hunter Henry, and Ben Sinnott, because then that's
what I'm saying.
Yeah, like, you just might not get any points, and you're just like 2 points is your score from your tight end that week.
Like, Cade Otton compared to Ben Sinnott on that team, I'm like, hell, like, I want like Juwan Johnson, Hunter Henry, and Cade Otton. That feels pretty good.
Yes.
Throw Sinnott in for one of those guys. I'm like, what do I have here?
Yeah.
The thing is, and I'll end it with this, we can move on. I do think this year the dynamic of the late round tight end is a lot worse. And I heard you, Pat, I think, make this point where there's like 8 teams right now where like a tight end isn't even draftable on the roster because it's such a gross committee. Like, you can put the Chargers in there, you can put the Panthers in there. Like, there's a bunch of teams where it's really hard to draft a tight end. So I do kind of understand, like, last year it was like shooting fish in a barrel. You could get Trey McBride, you could get Jake Ferguson, you could get Musgrave.
They removed one of the big wins. Taysom Hill is not eligible at tight end on underdog anymore, which people might laugh. But like, I mean, a guy who famously never took any stands on players, just took 25% of Taysom every year because it was just an easy way to get points.
He's still a tight end on DraftKings.
He is.
Oh, wow.
Correct.
Yeah, I got to get over
But he used to be a quarterback on DraftKings. They're the only site that got it right. They changed their minds.
I love it.
I can't wait
when everyone else is zagging, man.
Yeah. Are people going to fade Taysom Hill again because they don't use their trick plays in the preseason, or Is that
It's the thing about Taysom is he's been the same super elite best ball pick every single year, and no one has ever learned their lesson. No one has ever changed their mind about it, despite seeing the direct evidence for it.
Yeah. Let's talk about Kimani Vidal.
I think I changed my mind. I wasn't originally on Taysom all the way. And
You
I
weren't.
finally got
You
there.
weren't.
Yeah. So I have changed my mind.
Good for you. Good for you. Stay flexible.
Kimani Vidal, he's up 70 spots from basically undrafted to pick 170 now. Obviously, the story behind this is Chargers were the best landing spot out there for running back, maybe besides the Cowboys, and there's just no one there. Pat, what's your ranking on Vidal? Is this gone too far?
I mean, the thing with Vidal is that it's like hard to say. And so I'm now behind ADP on him, but has it gone too far? Like probably, but if it hasn't, then
That's
it hasn't
the thing.
gone nearly far enough. So like,
is it right? If he's ahead of Gus Edwards coming week 1, we're all going to be like, gee, we didn't want to draft him at RB48. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. Like, and what are you really giving up if you chase Vidal? I know it's not like fun to chase Vidal right now. I'll probably just raise him up because what I'm going to do with Vidal is continually capitulate until it gets away from us, if it gets away from us like this, and then I'll finally say it's insane, because it will become insane if he's like a 7th round pick. I mean, that's nuts. But on the way to that, and we potentially are headed there, why am I going to like sweat the difference of like, you really ought to pay $1 for him in the auction draft, not $2. You can't pay $2 for him. That's twice as much.
Good point.
Like,
It's
who
such a good
fucking
point.
cares? Just pay $2 for him. You know, if you take him in the 15th, 14th, whatever, like, it probably doesn't matter. He is normally, I don't like taking these like really kind of dart throwy swings at running back this early when we don't know the depth chart. It is possible he's on the practice squad. This guy, like, he could be a complete zero.
But here's the thing, though. If he ends up, like, if we get good news from him all summer, I mean, this is your dude who's going in the 6th round.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. No, I mean, there is no what do you win when you win here. We all know what we win. And I think we should therefore be willing to get a little looser. I mean, I didn't like him that much as a prospect. I know JJ Zacharyson liked him a lot. There are some things to like. He's kind of it's a little bit plotting. But I mean, pretty strong lower body type of guy.
What we want.
Yeah.
It's literally
Yeah.
what we
Yeah.
want.
Harbaugh hears plotting, and he said, "Yeah, tell me more."
He kind of looks a little Gus Edwardsy, to be honest. I mean, he might be like young Gus Edwards, which is enough. That's enough.
You want to know what a very good undrafted free agent / day 3 comp guy who weighs 215 pounds and is pretty fast?
James Robinson.
Isaiah Pacheco.
He looks more like Robinson if you kind of are envisioning him. He's got kind of that. He's a little like.
I'm not gonna say I went real deep on Troy University tape. I'm just going to be real about it. But the point is so true, which is for Kimani Vidal, what's the difference if you're taking your 0 in the 14th round or the 18th round when this is the depth chart he's got to beat out? J.K. Dobbins is the fucking knight for Monty Python. It's like, I don't even know how this guy walks. It's insane. Gus Edwards, absolutely shout out to Gus Edwards, all those touchdowns last year. Gus Edwards, when you look up the definition of replacement level running back, it's just a picture of Gus Edwards smiling at you. Then we've got Elijah Dotson, Isaiah Spiller, and Jarrett Patterson are the only other guys who are even signed on the roster at this point. It is the most wide open depth chart in the NFL.
It's like a dynasty team I've been managing it very actively. It has all those dudes on it.
I mean, I'm positive I have at least 3 of those guys on one team somewhere. If I really looked, yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Like, I'm with you, Pat. Where usually, look, if I'm like at risk of a dead roster spot, I don't want it to be like chasing, the Las Vegas Raiders scat
Van
back.
Jefferson.
I want to be chasing the Chargers starting running back.
No, we're not letting you get away with this. No Laube slander on this program. Not allowed.
Fair enough. But yeah, Vidal.
Fair. Fair. That's fair.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, you can't slander the
Derogatory.
the 5'10" running back from UNH. There's no way. Yeah, you can't slander him.
Our brother in
yeah.
pickleball.
True. Talking about white guys.
All in on Nipple Baby McCaffrey.
He's picked 184 now. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any McCaffrey hot takes, but third round wide receiver in the late rounds just seems like a good archetype to hit on. I do think his profile, like his college profile, is kind of interesting. He came in as a quarterback and then switched over to wide receiver. That's like, the Kadarius Toney path, which worked out really well. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. He was very productive as a wide receiver once he switched at Rice, which is a bit lower competition, but I think you can squint and see an interesting profile, super high RAS score too with McCaffrey. So I like the dart throw at pick 184. And I do think you get some, compared to the other late wide receivers in his range, I think you get better certainty he's going to be out on the field by the end of the season. So I think he's a pretty good pick.
Did you do a depth chart
to start the season?
Yeah.
Who's in
No,
his way?
start the season. Yeah. The depth chart on this has got to be
brutal,
outrageous.
It's worse. It's worse than the Patriots. These are the guys who could theoretically be on the field week 1. Dax Milne, De'Ami Brown, Olamide Zaccheaus, or Jamison Crowder.
Yeah, De'Ami Brown. Definitely drafted a ton of De'Ami Brown like 3 years ago. That's a tough.
I did
too. Tough name to hear.
I drafted a bunch, but yeah, and James Crowder 30, by the way. Yeah, Luke McCaffrey is going to be their starting slot receiver probably week 1. The other thing is that no one's blocking him from getting on the field, but like, is he better than Jahan Dotson right now?
Right now,
he might be.
Yes.
So, and then we just talked about it's like aging Zach Ertz, Ben Sinnott, who knows? Like this guy could be the secondary weapon in an offense that's like not bad. Maybe they're not great, but I'm kind of into McCaffrey. This is kind of like, this is one of the best landing spots that you can have for like just having some production right away.
And
Maybe
what if
Jane
Jaden Daniels is like crazy good? Like, I think verdict's real out on that, but like, what if Jaden Daniels is like Stroud-ish level, as a rookie, like just really good right away?
Yeah, and I'm not a Daniels guy personally, but if you're just trying to get like a good rookie season out of him, even if you're like very skeptical, and I'm pretty skeptical, but this is a decent enough spot getting Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff Kingsbury, like he's going to run the ball too much. He's not going to be creative, but he's going to design an offense that generally fits what Daniels does well. He's going to be okay. My concern with
who's going to win in the horizontal raid, Luke McCaffrey or Terry McLaurin? Ask yourself that.
Yes. 2-3 years from now, we're going to be like, dude, you made Jaden Daniels boring. Like, go back to Thailand. But this, this year 1, Cliff can stay and coach. We're good with it.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't have much else to say on McCaffrey, but I think there's no reason to be out on his archetype at pick 184. I don't think. Zamir White, he's an interesting one. He's up 20 picks now to pick 81. I think if you were to look at, the range of outcomes Zamir White could have had this offseason, this was the best possible outcome for him. Dylan Laub aside, they did not add a ton of competition with Alex Madison and, a 7th, 6th round pick at running back. I think this price adjustment makes sense. Curious what your thoughts here are, Davis, on Zamir White at pick 81.
I can't click him. Sure, could be great. Maybe he just comes back and just does the exact same thing he was doing at the end of last year, getting all these carries. He played like literally like 98% of the snaps last month of the season. But the offense is not going to be very good. They had Bowers, they have Adams back, but the quarterback play is just going to like suck. The team is very philosophically committed to running the ball. And so to be fair, they don't have like a ready-made guy who you think would start over him, but it really would not be surprising if it's like 11 carries for Zamir White, 8 carries for Alexander Madison, 2 for Amir Abdullah. Like it, just like a total gross. I'm really not interested. I prefer Pollard. I prefer Ramondre. I prefer Jalen Warren. Probably just hard for me to click him.
Yeah.
Pat, what about you?
I've been taking Zamir White because I have no interest in taking him once he moves up a little more. And I think he will. He kind of stalled out. Like, I thought he would rise up even further. I thought we might be dealing with like 6th round Zamir White. And so I was actually being a little bit aggressive about adding him, just with the idea that I would probably be at 0% in the 6th. But maybe that rise is actually stalled out. And he'll be around pick 80. And I think he's okay there. But if he kind of just chills out here for a while, I'll probably start taking Warren and Ramondre again ahead of him. Because, yeah, I'm generally with Davis in terms of, like, I don't like him the most in this range. But he's very easy for me to see people making the bull case on. You have he was a very athletic. He was at one point a really highly regarded prospect entering college, suffers some injuries. And then, he's got a clear path to touches. He had that clear path last year. It resulted in a lot of production. This is a profile that we normally are asked to pay a 5th round, 6th round price tag for. So I'm just like, as long as it's sitting here, I want to make sure I'm mixing it in. And it will allow me to more full fade it if it rises. That's my ideal. Please steam him up. I'm good. I got enough.
Yeah. I think I'm a little bit more optimistic on the talent profile for Zamir White than you guys. I guess, like, zooming way out on him, he's a guy who was the #1 running back in the 2018 recruiting class, got scholarship offers from Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, basically everyone. His college coach, who was Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator, used him as a primary ball carrier over James Cook pretty consistently. It was still a committee, but he was seen in college as having better talent as a rusher than James Cook. And then you look at his rushing efficiency last year, and everyone wants to say, oh, Jacobs' efficiency was so bad, but it's just because he was on the Raiders. That team was horrible. You look at Zamir White, and he was pretty damn good across the board. A really high success rate, second best in the NFL.
Yeah, I think he's fine.
And that's the thing. The team committed, down the stretch last year, he had 23 plus touches in 4 straight games. Like, they built the whole identity out of Zamir White, and it was effective. Like, they beat the Chiefs. I do think that that's the team's plan right now, is to sort of build the whole ship out of Zamir White. And I still think the price is fine. So, yeah, he's not a guy I'm saying I'm going all in on. I'm chasing him up to the 4th or 5th round. But I do think at pick 80, like, you can squint and see a pretty exciting talent profile for Zamir White. It's just that it's a little bit weird, right? Because he was blocked for 2 years by Josh Jacobs. So he has such little NFL production through 2 years. But if he was like, I guess the way I'm trying to reframe it is, like, if Zamir White was coming into the league as a rookie and we're like, oh, this guy who, like, outproduced James Cook in college and is coming to a wide open depth chart, I think we'd be pretty excited about him.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. No, I want to be taking him now. I don't like it. I don't like it that I'm taking him now, but I am doing it. That's where I'm at.
The thing about him is that he's been around for too long. Like, if this was year 2 for him, but the fact that it's year 3 and people remember him not playing literally at all as a rookie, like that's, I mean, for me, that's kind of what it is. And he also is, like, the worst receiving back. He's got his last 6 years playing organized football, college and pro, 32 receptions his last 6 years playing. Where I could dig up. I guess I could go back and look at his high school stats, but I'm gonna guess he didn't catch the ball very much then either.
Oh man,
it's not great.
No, you're not betting on him for the receiving profile, but
yeah, they got a white lacrosse player for that.
Chris Olave now is up 5 picks. He's at the end of the second, or I guess he started at the end of the second round. Now he's more of a mid-second pick.
And it's so funny. because it has nothing to do with him. It's all the dynamics around him. It's got there's no news. There's nothing about him. It's nothing to do with the Saints. It's all people deciding they like the guys around him less.
Yep.
Yeah. That's all it is. But I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts? I'm curious, both of you guys. Like, we now have like Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, and Drake London. I think you can put them in this cohort of guys who, like, fantasy wise, talking like raw fantasy points, not like any fancy target share stuff. Like, they kind of have been relatively useless fantasy assets for both years of their career. Like, and now I get why in year 3 we can project like huge leaps for them, but I don't know. Like, are we overthinking it? Taking Olave, say, over more proven fantasy producers like Debo, Devontae Adams. You could even throw Jalen Waddle, guys like that in there. Or do you guys think he has the upside to deserve this price?
I don't really like it.
No one. Here's the thing. I don't want to have to do this for 4 months. I just can't. The second round sucks, and we're going to have to elevate dudes who don't deserve it. That's just how it works. There's no one here where there's not. I don't think we're going to find somebody that is deserving of pick 16 or whatever. And so we're just going to all have to pick a guy, and then we're going to turn on that guy and be like, there's no way Chris Olave should be. I mean, we're kind of having that discussion with Drake London, which is kind of fair enough with Drake London, but like, tell me who else to put there then. And you can't do it because there's no one else.
There's no
Debo,
one. There's no one.
These are the guys I take over. I'm going to end up in my rankings. I have Waddle in this range. Now, obviously, I'm not going to take Waddle here every time because that's not the way to play.
I think that's fair. I think Waddle's in this tier.
But I think for me, London, Debo, Adams, and Waddle, that's like my tier. That's like who I want to take.
I'm kind of so Sean Siegel. We should pull up where he has Adams because it was kind of nuts, and he had me kind of second guessing it before the draft, and then with them taking Bowers, which signals them running the ball. Sam, you're just saying they want to build the plane out of Zamir White. That doesn't mean a lot of passing volume. They're going to run a lot of 12 personnel, which is maybe good for Adams in terms of like yards per route run and stuff. But I just don't think there's going to be that much volume there.
Probably not.
Also, you put the Raiders pretty high on the list of implosion candidates.
Definitely.
So and he's older. He doesn't want to be there. You know, they're going to cut him after the season or trade him for sure. The cap hit, it's like if they save $30 million by getting rid of him, like he could just be like, I'm done. I'll see. I'm going to go play for someone else next year. Like Adam scares me in the second round. Like legitimately scares me.
That was the thesis last year. His people were like, oh, he's the quarterback play is going to be terrible. He's not going to want to be out there, and he was good.
He was. Yeah. But I mean, we're just going to keep running this back until eventually blow up. This is a 30-something wide receiver in a horrendous situation. Like
the thing that nuts out is that I mean, I'm going to keep this alive. That he could get traded at any point. That basically it's just like he's just like, look, dude, can we just not?
If the Raiders were rational, they would trade him. I mean, they're a team going nowhere. Just get what you can recoup from Devontae Adams.
And they're
not going to think like that.
For him to go. There are plenty of spots for him to go.
Yeah, but so it's tough for them to trade him this year. He's got $40 million.
It's
plus
crazy. It's
dead
crazy
cap.
Salary wise.
It's insane. Like, and they're not doing it. Like, you're asking Mark Davis to like.
Yeah, they're not going
to do something really sharp and unconventional. Like, no, he's not going to do it. So I think like I understand that I'm basically drafting like the 302 at pick 14 when I take Drake London or Chris Olave or whatever. But like these are talented.
But like so is everyone else. Everyone else.
So is everyone else.
Same thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
These are talented wide receiver ones on their team. Like. They probably shouldn't go quite this high, but no one has any question about the talent of Chris Olave, of Drake London. These guys are good. Brandon Ayuk, right? They're young, they're good. Debo fits. I have no issues with Debo. Jalen Waddle, like he's not a wide receiver one, I guess, but these guys are talented.
Way to think about this is what would their think about their week 17 stuff. Think about their these guys are insane giga ceilings. Like if I told you Chris Olave had 32 underdog points in week 17, you'd be like, well, it's a lot of points, but probably
Sure.
Drake London 114 and 2 touchdowns in week 17. You're like, definitely. Like you're
Don't even have
drafting
to
guys, don't even have to squint. Debo, same deal. Adams. I mean, Adams like is averaging about 97 fantasy points per game in week 17 the last 2 years. Like which is kind of what I tell myself when I make these round 2 picks that do not feel good, where I'm just like, yeah, they definitely are not great bets to be the wide receiver 10 at the end of the season or to be the 15th highest scoring player, but they are going to have very good single game ceilings.
Yep.
I agree. Yeah. The one thing I'll add on Chris Olave is I've been looking at some data on pre-snap motion stuff, and I thought this was interesting. So the new OC for the Saints was the San Francisco 49ers pass game coordinator last year, Clint Kubiak. San Francisco led the league last year in percent of pass plays with a player in motion at the snap. And dead last on this list was New Orleans. So they're
That's
bringing
so
an
really
entirely different offensive philosophy, assuming that sort of Shanahan tree carries over. And I'm still
it
working on
always
research.
does. It always does. The Shanahan stuff always carries.
So yeah,
Well,
I really would.
You know who his dad was? Like this dude's part of the tree.
He's part of the tree.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm still
I
like,
think I just moved Rashid Shaheed 20 spots up my rankings seeing this.
Dude,
I was really excited about that.
He's a good pick.
Yeah. We did see last year, this chart, it doesn't have Chris Olave on it, but I plotted here the wide receivers who ran the most plays where they were in motion at the snap. And it's sorted by the percent of routes in which they were doing that. So you see Tyreek Hill, Tutu Atwell, Keenan Allen. He was an interesting one I didn't really realize. Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, those guys are on here too. And mostly what you see is the players' yards per route run when they're in motion at the snap. A lot of these guys see huge spikes in production. Puka Nacua is a big one. He actually had 5 yards per route run per SIS data when he was in motion at the snap. So we do see crazy. It doesn't work for everyone. Like there's some people on this list that actually
look, anyone who's watched the CFL understands if you get a running start, it's way better.
They literally call it this. Yeah, they call it cheat motion. That's what Shanahan calls it. It's like cheating. Yeah. So if we get Shaheed and Olave, I mean, again, this chart, they were the least creative offense last year doing that with, I forget who was OC.
What if Taysom is the cheat motion guy? Have you thought about it?
Davis, I don't think like the
Taysom Hill
they can't handle Taysom Hill's the cheat motion.
What would happen? What would happen to the FFPC if quarterback eligible Taysom Hill was the cheat motion guy?
What if because they use enough cheat motion, they change him back to tight end halfway through the season?
No, they do it. It's week 3, and they decide, you know what? They change his positional designation, tight end. Believe it or not. Also, another thing about this chart that's crazy is New England was actually high up in this. They're 4th, and they still sucked.
They were so bad.
The Patriots were dead last in the NFL points scored last year, and they were cheating.
That's because they were using Juju on the cheat motion.
It doesn't work.
Juju
Devontae Parker. You can get Devontae Parker running at the snap. It doesn't help him get up to any speed at all.
It actually lowers his yards per out run.
Yeah, he just gets tired. He just kind of gets gassed out there.
Exhausted. He has to run his route.
Yeah. I do think there's a lot of interesting stuff with this, but like the Miami one's like 70%. That helped me understand a little bit more, like even in healthy games for Tyreek and Jalen Waddle when they're only running like 80% of the routes, it's because like on half of Tyreek's plays, he's fucking like sprinting across the formation like multiple times before the snap. Like, it's also why his
yards per route run numbers are fake.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess they're fake, but they're like potentially sustainable. So are they?
Sure, yeah, but they are fake. I mean, I think it is sustainable, but they are fake.
But it's like, I mean, to the point of them being fake, we're kind of these two offenses are sort of shifting things towards almost the running back position and sort of like how schemed up a touch can be, for a wide receiver. Like if you've got Tyreek in motion, he's running, the whole play is designed to get him the ball, and he's got this big edge on his defender because he got to run across the formation. And they've now figured out ways. McDaniel, adjusted it so that he's doing a quicker version of this so that the defense can't key on it. Why is it important that the defense doesn't key on it? Because the ball's going to Tyreek. The ball's going to Tyreek,
Right.
and they don't want them to be able to shut down that play. It's like kind of taking that extended handoff idea another step further, which, the target per route run, it would be interesting to see the target per route run on these types of routes because it's got to be super high. The whole point is to get the guy doing this the ball.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm working on an article on all this stuff. Probably won't be out for a little while, but I do think that spikes as well. Last thing on Olave here, he's not on this chart, but he ran just 35 routes in motion last year at the snap. Again, New Orleans was like in the dark ages in terms of implementing this stuff. But on those 35 routes, he had nearly 6 yards per route run. So that suggests, obviously, really small sample. That suggests, I think, he's quite effective on this type of play. I mean, it makes sense. He's a smaller guy, really fast. It would make sense that it'd fit into the archetype of player where this would be a big benefit to him. That's like, if you need to sell yourself on a ceiling case for Chris Olave, it's like just a revolutionized offense in terms of what type of concepts they're using under a better offensive coordinator. And I think that's certainly possible in New Orleans. Let's get to the fallers here. Kyren Williams. Yeah.
We can't talk Tyrone Tracy?
We can talk Tyrone Tracy. Yeah, we can talk Tyrone Tracy.
This is your guy who's still $1. This is the dude who's still $1. And if you're everyone else is hammering Vidal, who you can still take him, as I just said. So, but mix in Tyrone Tracy, because I could see the steam on him getting a little out of control. I mean, he plays special teams. He's going to be active. The Isaiah Pacheco thesis that we had a couple years back is in play here. Devon Singletary is an extremely weak starter. He catches passes. He's athletic. He's versatile. He's big. Like, he's not huge, but he's like 209. So he's not like a little, 181-pound scat back. Like, he could actually be the lead back for the Giants down the stretch. Draft some Tyrone Tracy.
Aren't you worried about Eric Gray?
No, I'm not worried about Eric Gray. Once I saw Josh Norris comp Tyrone Tracy to David Johnson, it was like it was a real come to Jesus moment for me.
What was?
I'm so pissed they didn't have Tyrone Tracy in the pre-draft stuff. I still can't get over that.
Well, we know this is an edge. Michael Wilson was an edge last year. It wasn't in the pre-draft stuff.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, I probably did help his ADP be better now.
Yeah,
or lower.
Josh Norris comped Tyrone Tracy to David Johnson, so I was just like, wow.
I mean, Johnson had 20 pounds on Tracy, but
correct, sure, but stylistically, yeah. Guy's really good at running routes. All that.
He was truly a converted receiver. Like when you watch his highlights and stuff, he's like, they don't hand the ball off to the running back, and then the running back like runs out of frame. And you're like, what's going on? And
what's going on?
Oh shit!
Yeah,
Tyrone Tracy's down there playing receiver.
Any player who's a converted anything, I am just a slappy for. Like it just sounds so much cooler to me. It's just so much cooler.
This quarterback converted to wide receiver. Say no more.
In.
Immediately. Running back converted to wide receiver. Wide receiver converted to running back.
Former linebacker that's playing running back.
Yeah.
Oh
my God.
Doesn't matter.
That's ADP.
We got to start a league where you can only play players who converted from other positions. Kate Sterling, tight end 1.
Ryan Tannehill gets drafted as the quarterback 1.
Yeah, sign me up.
Ryan. Even though he doesn't play, he's got to draft him. What if he plays?
You got to draft him. It's a first round pick. Kyren Williams, he's an interesting one. Or Davis, did you have final thoughts on Tyrone Tracy?
No, I mean, I think he's a very good example of if you like him, draft him now, even if he might be a 0, because once there's any kind of steam behind him at all, people don't like Devon Singletary, so he just is going to go way up.
Yep. And look, I mean, the reason we wouldn't be drafting him is because like he might not even be the RB2, but the special team stuff and the like total lack of anything on the depth chart. I mean, he's probably
Breida not even on the team anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, this team they don't have any faith in Eric Gray. I mean, they were playing Matt Breida pretty consistently over him last year. Yeah, I think it's Tracy's job to lose, and he's one of the ambiguous RB2s, if you want to call him that I'm certainly willing to draft right now. I think it's fine. Kyren Williams down 7 spots. This is obviously the reaction to the Blake Corum draft. Curious what you guys think. What do you guys think? I think this conversation starts with like, what do we think about the concept of like Sean McVay being ideologically committed to workhorse backs? Like, how true do you guys think that is?
He definitely is. I feel almost like 97% confident that is his preference.
So I do think that compared to the average coach, Sean McVay is more likely to use a workhorse. I do think I dug into their running back stuff from 2020 to 2022. Obviously, before that, Todd Gurley was a pretty big workhorse in that offense. But in 2020, it was mostly a 3-way committee of Henderson, Malcolm Brown, and Akers. Now, by the playoffs, the NFL playoffs, Akers became the workhorse.
Per game, Sam, if you go back and look, he would like start different guys and try and remember in 2022, he benched. Was it Henderson or Akers for Ronnie Rivers? They were like, okay, we're going to go with Ronnie Rivers in this game. And then Ronnie Rivers was awful. It's like he definitely prefers to have a guy, then he just gets sick of the guy.
Yeah, Akers is actually a good example of him doing this. That season,
yes.
When Akers became the guy, they installed Akers. Akers was a stand for us in the FFPC playoff challenge because I was like, they're going to like try to ride Akers. Basically, if they win, it's probably because they like ride Akers, which is what happened. They beat the Seahawks with Akers as a workhorse. He looked really good as a rookie. Then he tore his Achilles. So that to me kind of goes as part of the thesis that he like wanted Akers to be what Kyren is now. I think that helps Kyren a little bit. It is concerning that Blake Corum is basically just a Kyren clone. And it creates downside for Kyren. What if Blake Corum gets a chance because Kyren gets banged up? He's undersized. He comes in. He's doing awesome. Does Kyren get his job back? He might not. He might not. Kyren's good. I don't know that he's amazing. It just kind of creates like devastating downside risk.
It's like I think he's probably a good pick. Like he's way better. Like he's better than the average pick in the second round to pay off his odds.
Yes.
But the downside risk is you just straight up drafted a handcuff in the second round. Just like straight up drafted a guy the team is not going to play. Like, and maybe that's only like 5%, but it's 100% higher than 0. Legendary downside.
Legendary downside could be a fun article.
What is it? What am I describing legendary downside? Like what Kyren's doing in his free time, like on the bench? Like in week 3, Kyren has a conversation about he's not fucking on the field.
If there's a guy in the second round where like in 2 years we like do a remember this guy's conversation and Kyren Williams is like already a remember this guy, like. Yeah. Like, or it's like the Kenyon Drake thing. Like, remember that year we all had collective delusion and Kenyon Drake was like the 15th overall pick? Like that, again, I agree with you guys that that's not a likely outcome, but like none of the wide receivers going near him, or even like, you can say Barkley is a bad pick, but he does not have nearly the downside that Kyren, like Barkley's not losing his job to Tyrone Tracy or whatever, right? Like
I have Kyren well behind Barkley now.
Yeah. The year that Cam Akers tore his Achilles in the preseason, it was really early on, but he opened up. I think it was that the Best Ball Mania 1 year. It might have been.
Yeah, I think it was been Best Ball Mania 2.
He was a 1-2 turn pick before he tore his Achilles. We've already.
That's done right. This. That's
We've
right.
Already done this. Yeah.
That's a great point.
I'm not saying I'm like, oh, I can't wait to fade Kyren. I don't want to. I don't want that to be the brand, but I don't really find myself clicking him at all.
The last thing is also,
I took him before the draft, but 3rd round pick on a guy who's like exactly the same as him.
Yeah, when they
No
do the
thanks.
press conference and he's like, so you know that guy Kyren? He's kind of like he's that. He's like that guy.
That's literally the press conference. It's like we basically saw Kyren, which we really liked. Like, oh no.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say on Kyren is you go back through. I do agree with you guys again that like McVay is. I do think he prefers a workhorse back. Go through the past 3 years. There were a lot more games than I remember of like Malcolm Brown 40% snaps, Darrell Henderson 40% snaps, someone else 20%. Like there's a lot of that in there.
Those guys. He hated.
He's not insane.
guys.
Like he hated Darrell Henderson and had to play him for the position that he
Exactly.
is
But I'm saying
in.
if he equally likes Blake Corum and Kyren Williams, I don't think like a split here is off the table.
Sure.
Yeah, it's not completely off the table, no. But I think he feels more comfortable with having a guy out there.
Yeah. It is 2 straight years where Kyren Williams hasn't been able to stay on the field. He was on IR both years in the league so far. I mean, maybe that factors into it a little bit, a smaller guy. But anyways,
teams turn on guys. Like, like if the health is a reason where teams are like, okay, you just can't stay on the field. I don't know. But look at Blake. Blake stays on the field all the time. We love Blake. Like,
it's like the Elijah Mitchell thing in SF.
Like not his fault. Yeah, but we know that stuff like that happens.
Shout out to episode 100 of this guy's really this 49ers handcuff running back you want that we're gonna do with Isaac Urendo this year when it's just gonna be Elijah Mitchell again.
It's gonna be Elijah Mitchell again. Yeah.
Yeah. Tyrion Davis-Price.
Oh God.
Trey Sermon.
Isaac Urendo was the Joe Williams memorial pick in the 4th round. San Francisco they always have to draft running back in the 3rd or 4th round that they never intend to give a carry.
Even Kyle Shanahan's joking about it. Did you see that little clip?
Yeah. He's like, sometimes we draft a 3rd round running back and we hate him. We send him to Siberia. He never sees the field.
Cody Schrader is a better running back than Urendo, 100%.
They drafted. That's what he said. He goes, "We're probably take a running back in the 3rd round. He won't work out. Then we'll draft a guy in the 6th round. He's the real one." And then they did it. Cody
Schrader is legit. Like so much more. Like Urendo like barely could play at like a Louisville, and Urendo was like led the SEC in rushing, or Schrader led the SEC.
Yeah, Schrader. Yeah.
All right, Rashee Rice. I'm kind of exhausted by this conversation already this offseason, and it's only
all in. We don't need to do
May.
it anymore. All in.
I'm also
all in.
Yeah.
All right.
Draft Rashee Rice in the 6th round, guys.
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah, I think again, no one knows anything. I think what we're getting is like a 4 or 5 game suspension. Then at this price, he's fine. And there's definitely ways he just has like a 2 or 3 game suspension too, at which point he's a pretty big discount. So yeah.
The NFL is going to have to prove to me that they're willing to suspend Rashee Rice for half a season. It's not the way the NFL's typically handled this type of stuff. And I know it's possible. It's not fully priced in if it is half a season.
But every pick he gets cheaper means it matters less that he misses games at the beginning of the season if he is playing at the end of the season.
Yeah. Which he will be.
Though I guess to not completely, just go by this conversation. What do you? I was trying to think of reasons to like be out on Rice. What do you think of the possibility that like say it is a 6 game suspension? That seems like close to worst case, right? They have 6 weeks of Mahomes building a rapport with Xavier Worthy, Marquise Brown. I do think there are still legitimate questions of like how complete of a wide receiver Rashee Rice is, and you could make the argument that like he was just kind of the best of a bunch of terrible options last year, right? MVS, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney. Is there anything to that where you think he could lose his rhythm in the offense if he's suspended? Maybe not being used in the preseason, all that stuff at the end of the season.
So here's the downside. So here's the upside case for Rice is that, but it sort of flips into the downside case. But one of the things that I like about Rice is that he didn't have all that high of a first read target rate last year. The offense wasn't really designed to go through him, even as he got on the field and had a really high targets per out run. He still wasn't seeing a super high first read target rate. He
was the bailout guy.
He was the bailout guy. A lot of the targets that he ended up getting, someone else didn't get open. And Rice found spots where Mahomes was able to find him. And I think this is part of the reason why his his ADOT was so low, is that he was, finding a spot fairly shallow where Pat Mahomes could get him the ball on some of these later reads in the progression. That is pretty appealing to me, though, when you're going, okay, this is a rookie. He was highly efficient. He had a connection with his quarterback. He wasn't even getting that many first reads. What's probably one of the main things driving second-year breakouts, from a high level across the league? It's the fact that they install more plays for these guys in year two. And
there's just a bunch of anti-fragile ways that he benefits, like maybe Worthy bust. Maybe Travis Kelce really is can't get it going in the regular season. Like maybe organizationally they know they can count on him for the playoffs, but there's just no reason to target him in the regular season. Maybe Hollywood. I mean, look at some of the wide receiver contracts out there. Like DJ Shark just signed a contract that's basically the same as Hollywood Brown's. Like maybe Hollywood just is just dust. Like they're just, and I'm not saying any of these things are true, but they're all within the realm of possibility. All that being said, I don't believe any of them. I mean, I'm just gonna be taking a shit ton of this guy. I'm taking Worthy. I'm taking Hollywood. I'm taking Kelce. I'm taking Pacheco. I'm taking Clyde. My
unbiased takes right here.
No, I'm 100.
Before the show, you said you took Kadarius Toney.
I took Kadarius Toney in a draft today. I like the Chiefs are going to score 28 points a game again, and you are going to want their players in fantasy football.
Well, so I made the upside case, right? He didn't get that many first read targets. He had a shallow ADOT. He's kind of just a bailout guy, but now year two, he'll get the first read target. Well, if he's suspended for half the season,
that's not good.
Are they going to install that many more plays for him?
Right.
They just signed Worthy. They just signed Marquise Brown. So now you end up in a situation where they're actually not calling that. Yeah, they got to get their scrum plays in there, So
shout out Andy Reid. I'm so bored of winning the Super Bowl. I got to see if I can turn a rugby player into a guy who can score 5 touchdowns in the NFL.
That's what we were laughing. I was on Pete's pod this morning. We were laughing that he's going to have to install the scrum, and get Zam at the ball. So anyway, so that's where you end up like, okay, now he's not the first read on these plays, but Worthy is getting open. Hollywood is getting open. Those guys are helping Kelce get open more. And he's just not getting those like second, third read targets because someone else is getting open on the first read. And he just kind of falls down the target pecking order pretty easily because the offense isn't really designed to go through him. It never was. We're kind of betting on that to change.
Kind of what happened.
So that's the downside.
I think what happened with him last year was that Kelce was way more injured than they ever let on. And they basically were just like, dude, we just got to have someone who can get like 7 yards, and Bryce was more like for like a stock portfolio of his career. I would not be super, if none of the suspension stuff happened, I would not be like buying Rice in Dynasty right now. Now, because people are concerned about his suspension, I mean, Rice is an amazing buy in Dynasty right now because like the upside case is still there. But getting him at like wide receiver 40, just like, oh, it's like Jackson Smith and Jigba's spot. Like, come on. Like, it's just a good pick.
It's just a good pick.
Yeah. Because then, like, some of the downside scenarios you guys are talking about, like, oh, what if, like, Marquise Brown and Worthy are good and they're designing plays for them? Well, at some level, it's, like, good because then the Chiefs' offense is, like, probably good again.
Points.
Yeah, right, they're passing a lot and scoring points. Yeah,
exactly. Like, Mahomes had an all-time low in passing yardage last year relative to the past, 4 years before that. Like, we don't want a repeat of the Chiefs experience last year necessarily if we're a Rashee Rice drafter. Like, we want the offense to be good.
You don't want that. You like really you definitely do not want that. You want there to be like 11 touchdown seasons for him.
Yeah, what you're not worried about? Routes. This dude's going to come out and run all the routes. Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, like no. These dudes, they're going to have half the season without Rice means half the season with Sky Moore. They're going to be ready to have Rice back on the field.
Yeah, they're going to be like, buddy, thank you for your okay, I do want to address one thing, and then I'm going to go kick out for 10 minutes and come back. Chad is making, I think, a pretty valid point that people said this was going to happen with Kamara. It didn't end up happening. But what if the risk comes at the back half of the season? What if the NFL just, for whatever, decides that the suspension comes in week 13, 14, 15, and 16? Just for whatever. I mean, It's impossible to price that right now.
We have to make bets in uncertain environments, and the NFL doing an extremely long suspension in the back half of the season would be like double unprecedented. And
correct.
The fact that the chat's even floating that, I think, gives you a sign of like where the market's head is at on this, and it's not fully rational. I mean, I'm not saying that's impossible, but like if no one floated it and I was the only one to think about it, I'd be more nervous.
And you know what? All your entries are going to lose anyways. Your entries are likely to lose anyway. So
none of it matters. You're losing all your money.
There's a real what do you win when you win with Rice in the 6th. I mean, this
and normally I always lose these. I always lose the what do you win when you win because I'm so scared of losing. But because I'm a biased homer, this is one spot where I can actually do the right thing. It's like kind of incredible for me. You know, it's like this is one spot where I actually get to do the mathematically correct thing, not because I'm mathematically correct, but because I'm just a giant homer.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
You love to see it.
All right, I'll see you guys Davis. In 10 minutes.
All right, later.
All right. So Davis is going to head out to go on TV and hopefully not tell people that he's drafting Kadarius Toney.
That stays here. That stays here.
Okay, this is fuck. I hope you didn't see that. Okay, something happened in the slides that are messed up. Let me just read these out to you for Devon Achane. So again, we're doing two stats and a lie. I'm going to say 3 facts about Devon Achane, I guess, and Pat's going to say which one is the lie. So here we go. First fact, Devon Achane yards per carry in 2023 was higher than Michael Vick's yards per carry through his 6 seasons in Atlanta. So prime Michael Vick, toss out the Steelers Jets years. Fact 2 is the Dolphins RB3 through RB6. Last year, this was Jeff Wilson, Chris Brooks, Savon Ahmed, Darrington Evans had more carries than Devon Achane in 2023, cumulatively. And then the third fact is Derrick Henry, Zeke Elliott, and Josh Jacobs all had higher yards per route run than Achane did in 2023.
Name the 3 again. So Derrick Henry,
Zeke Elliott, and Josh Jacobs all had higher yards per route run than Achane in 2023. And this is regular season plus the playoff game. So that impacts, I guess.
And one of these is not true, right? I have to pick one.
One of these is a lie.
So the last one I think is real because Derrick Henry's had weirdly high yards per route run. Josh Jacobs, the only thing he was decently efficient at last year was yards per route run. And Zeke Elliott had a weirdly high yards per route run because they used him as a little pass dump off guy. So that one's real. The yards per carry, I think, is probably also real because his yards per carry was insane. So I'll say the carries one is a lie.
Yep, nailed it. His yards per route run was just insane. I was shocked by this because you think of rushing quarterbacks yards per carry just being ridiculous, and prime Michael Vick is the top person I think of when I think of prime rushing quarterbacks. Achane was even better than that, which is just insane. I mean, he was having wide receiver stat lines with carries last year, like 8 carries for 100 yards. Just stuff that was absolutely absurd. You were right that the second one was a lie. Achane didn't have many touches last year, still had more than all those other guys, though it was kind of closer than I thought. I guess not close enough to trip you up. And then the final thing.
Well, Ahmed also, I remember like just being out there a lot for like passing downs and stuff. So,
yeah. A lot of empty snaps for him.
A lot of empty snaps.
Yeah. The last one I think is like interesting to talk about when we talk about Achane's ADP now is I was a little surprised about his receiving efficiency. I guess just in my head, I was like, oh, Achane was an awesome receiver last year. He's going to get a lot of work in the passing game. It was a bit of a mixed bag, but again, running back yards per route run can fluctuate a ton season to season. I would be pretty surprised if Achane didn't like come back next year and have a pretty good number here, but curious what your thoughts are on his like receiving profile. Is that like a red flag to you at all in where he's going in the second round of drafts? Because I know for your legendary upside stuff, you're really looking at receptions for running backs to hit that legendary upside ceiling.
Yeah. I don't think he's like inefficient to the point where it would be a red flag, but it's probably not how he gets there. You're basically betting on him to be hyper efficient as a rusher, score a bunch of touchdowns, have the offense be really good, and then get used, somewhat versatilely as, some receiving ability. It's interesting. Like, this system is not the one that's going to produce really high yards per route run. And I think, we can use Christian McCaffrey as an example of that. Where McCaffrey, he had in Carolina as a second year. So this one he broke out 1.77 yards per route run, 1.76 in 2019, 1.80 in 2020, 2.91 in 2021. Then he gets traded to the 49ers, drops to 1.67. He's actually coming off his lowest career yards per route run of 1.36. I think it's like, to me, it's like maybe running back yards per route run. I think we always kind of want to be like having sort of buckets of like, if you're like at 0.5, like you're not doing shit. If you're like from 0.5 to 1, like don't love that. Anyone from like 1 to like 1.5, you're doing some interesting stuff. Maybe you're not like prime McCaffrey, prime Kamara. Anything over like 1.5, you're basically a star. But it is more like, it's kind of like, I think he's going to have a chance for like explosiveness in the receiving game. I don't think this offense is going to be looking to kind of drop back, see what's there, dump it off to the running back in a way where you might see like prime Brady kind of, or, latter half of career Brady, but like that type of like breeze, like that's not really what this offense wants to be. And I don't think we get that with Achane, but I think super explosive player. This yards per route run does indicate that he has, I think, some versatility to be used in the receiving game, trying to get him upfield as quickly as possible.
Yeah. And I do think just like sharper offensive coordinators these days are not trying to design too much for running backs in the passing game. I think that's why you see Achane with a lower yards per route run here, is because when they're passing, they're scheming up Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And I don't think it's necessarily Tua's strength, like you would see with Brady, with Breeze, those guys who are really skilled at, if the first read, second read's not there, check it down to the running back. I don't think, Tua's processing is necessarily a strength. So I think that explains why the number here is not that high for Achane. But yeah, I agree with you. Like ultimately, like if he catches one screen and goes 80 yards to the house, which we know he can do, that yards per route run number is going way up. So I'm not too worried about it. I think it's just
he rated pretty well in ESPN's receiver rating. Score of 52 there. Breece Hall was at 57. It's not amazing, but he was pretty solid in like that metric. So I think I'm looking for him to be a solid receiver, then tack on extremely efficient rushing. And that's how he gets there as far as like the legendary upside goes. He actually, of all the running backs, ranks second to McCaffrey this year in the screener that I do. Breece Hall is third. Bijan is fourth. So he has, now with Achane, we have to kind of tack on, okay, but like, what does that actually look like? Can he get the workload needed over the full season to like deliver one of these truly legendary seasons? Probably not, but can he do it for a couple weeks or, a handful of weeks? Like 100% he can. We know he can. And that's where I think in best ball, he really is such a strong pick, because he has access to these legendary spike weeks because of the rushing inefficiency plus receiving versatility.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I agree. I'm in on Achane this year. I am curious, like how low of a price will end up getting on him. I don't think it's gonna go past the third round. So at that point, I don't think it really matters if you draft him, at pick 18, pick 22, pick 26. It's all, kind of the same as long as he's not going all the way around to the next turn.
I don't think he does.
Yeah, I would be
And look,
shocked.
he's the type of dude. I don't think there's like a Breece Hall for me this year where I'm just gonna like hammer a guy in the first 5 rounds. If there is, it would be Achane falling to the 3-4 turn. If he was available at the 3-4 turn, I would have 30+%. I mean, it's just really hard for me to imagine how you don't take the big upside. I mean, at that point, he can do, what ETN did last year and be a pretty nice hit. If he delivers what he did, a little but plus a little bit more consistency. I mean, it's kind of Breece Hall from last year. Like you don't in the early fourth round, we no longer need the legendary upside. A really strong season with a sprinkling of spike weeks becomes a big hit there for us. So, I would love if you fell to the late third, even though I'm going to be loading up in the late second and early third. It's with the understanding that if he were to fall to the 3-4 turn, I wouldn't be like, oh God, I have all these teams. No, I've got teams that are structured differently with Achane. They've got different groups of players. Yeah, I paid more than people later on will pay, but these are going to be different types of teams. So I'm going to have Achane with kind of the whole group. I don't want to do that with every player, but if I think a guy can be the guy, that's pretty interesting. And I think he can be the guy, honestly.
Yeah, he showed that workhorse ability in college. I think that was kind of an underrated part of his profile. Honestly, like I think the main concern with people with Achane this year is the volume stuff. For me, my bigger concern, if I was to be out on him, it wouldn't be like the volume projection stuff. It would just be like we're in year 2 in a row of the Dolphins just completely collapsing down the stretch. I mean, last year their end of the season on offense was like pathetic. That game against the Chiefs was so ugly. I do think there are some concerns. Like I think McDaniel is an awesome OC. He's gotten the most out of Tua, but I do think like maybe there is a ceiling there that like halfway through the season, it seems like these defenses have figured out and made adjustments against the Dolphins offense because I don't know if it's the weather. I don't know if it's a defensive adjustments, but they've really cratered down the stretch 2 years in a row. So that would be my concern with Miami. That's more fair. Broadly, more so than like the Achane volume stuff.
They're definitely doing some gimmicky stuff and people figure it out a little bit. So that feels fair.
Yeah.
That's
derogatory.
That's fair.
Is that derogatory? If that's fair, or
what are we doing? We're
semi-derogatory.
I leave for 10 minutes and you guys start fudding Devon Achane?
No, I just said I would be taking the hell out of him in the 3-4 turn.
Yeah, I'm just taking him now because
I'm taking him now too.
I just think of the guy who demonstrably has already scored 40 points in a game multiple times. I think that would be a guy I would like to advance to the week 17 final personally.
No, my full take was that I'm taking him in the late second now. I'll take him in the early third once I kind of know for a fact I'm getting him there every time. If he drops to the late third, I'm going to take him. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take him in the early third. If you push him to the early fourth to the point I know he's coming back, then I'll take him there. I'm going to ride it. I'm going to ride it down if it goes that far. Because I think he should be in the late second. I think he should be in the late second.
We need a Jalen Wright steady drumbeat. A Darwin Thompson-esque drumbeat for the entirety of training camp, and then preseason week 1, Skylar Thompson's in there at quarterback, hands off to Jalen Wright, 67-yard touchdown, just like blazing down the field. And then we have to resist the urge to also draft Jalen Wright.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that.
And we got to stick to our prior.
Yeah, we definitely won't have 23% Jalen Wright after that.
I was thinking about this the other day. That 53-yard Kyle Pitts reception in the preseason against the Jets has probably lost me more money than any other individual NFL play of all time ever.
Yeah, dude, that and the Calvin Ridley camp running route 6 to Zay Jones. That one lost me thousands last year.
Jerick McKinnon kneeling on the 1-yard line in the Super Bowl, pretty high up there.
That one literally lost you. That's quantifiable.
Mahomes on the option play to Damian Williams, just running into the end zone instead of pitching it to Damian, not giving him his third touchdown.
for the Super Bowl MVP. Yeah.
Correct.
Remember
Yeah.
the Amir Abdullah preseason juke?
Mm.
Oh
that,
my God. Yes.
That
Yes,
lost
I
a lot of
do.
people a lot of money.
I mean, we're showing our age there a little bit, remembering but when Amir Abdullah was like the young, fun rookie running back.
By the way, you want to talk about guys who lost money, lost me money. The Bishop Sankey. There's a play in his college highlight. I'd love to bring up the just bombs for Bishop Sankey if that's still up. There's a play where he jukes a dude in college, and this guy he's done, and he runs all the way to the house. But the problem is when you zoom out on the play, it's like a fourth and like half an inch. And so the guy's like just trying to stop the conversion, and Sankey, there's like no safeties, like no one. So he just makes a guy miss who's trying to prevent a short yardage gain, and he takes it to the house. It's the only way. It's actually the only way he could generate explosive plays, as it turns out. Anyway, that one lost me a lot of money.
God, Bishop Sankey. He was an all-time bad fantasy pick.
Oh, so bad.
God.
Probably the first player who ever demonstrated to me the ability that I could be wrong about something. Bishop Sankey was one of the first times I was ever like, not only can I be wrong, but I can be really wrong in sort of unpredictable ways.
Really wrong. Yeah, that one.
Davis, you should repurpose that Just Bombs Bishop Sankey highlight and post it on Twitter.
Oh my God, yes. The people need it.
The Amir Abdullah juke is actually the one people need because it's so good. It will make you think that he should have been a star in the NFL.
Oof.
I mean, still could have. I mean, good passing down back.
Here, I'm gonna send it in the private chat. We actually should share this.
Okay, let me pull it up.
Remember when we were like, we're going to keep ADP chasing on the rails this year? And then episode 2, I'm sharing.
Episode 2.
2015 preseason clips.
It's a good chat had a good one. Remember when Daniel Jones had a breakaway 50-yard touchdown run and just tripped over his own feet?
Yeah, that one was so good. Nice work, Jeff.
Wait.
All right. Can you guys see this now?
No. It's we still see largest fallers.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay. Hold on.
This might be beyond Sam's. There we go.
Yeah, no, we're not working with Pete here. Here we go.
Okay.
Get this full screen. All right.
Amir Abdullah.
2015.
Back behind him and gets the call.
Oh my God.
Look at this kid. There's a flag on the play. And he is
can't take it to the house though.
In retrospect, not great that he gets caught from behind.
There's that 4.6 speed showing up.
Was there a JSN play like that from the preseason last year? It was like, oh, he made a big play, but then just got caught from behind so easily. That's the best part of the preseason is that everyone sees whatever bias you had in the player. If they make a big play, it's like, oh, 40 yards, but too slow to take it to the house. Like, this guy sucks.
Well,
all right. We're back on the rails. Rome Odunze.
He did, in fact, suck.
Rome Odunze, down 20 spots. This just seems like a good adjustment.
That's fair.
That's correct. That's what should happen.
Fair.
Yeah, it's just fair. It's just fair. Hats off to the...
Now, weirdly, there's an impact where I could see him going back up quite a bit, which is if Caleb Williams starts to just get, like, the buzz is just crazy. Like NFL Network is just like breathlessly reporting on Bears practices, like the stuff we're seeing is crazy. If you guys only knew how locked in he, where it just sort of rises all the Bears up.
Yeah. People want to stack the Bears, and I've gotten Odunze. I got him in the 7th in DraftKings, which it's a different land over there. You can get him in the 6th though on underdog, and I will sometimes use that as a backdoor stack with Caleb. It's actually made me want to draft like a little more Keenan in the 5th to see if I can get, the Keenan 5th, Odunze 6th, grab Caleb there. I'm having a hard time drafting DJ Moore, but I'm kind of intrigued maybe by mixing in DJ Moore in the 3rd.
Moore is the one I like the most because I'm like, I just know this dude can just like rip off touchdowns. He just is such a big play merchant.
That's true. The big plays there are nice. But I mean, to your point, I could see Odunze coming back up because it is actually fun. As someone who's been kind of bearish on the prices of these three guys, it is very fun to stack them with Caleb.
It's also that the projection based stuff for these guys is like there's so much uncertainty in it. We got a brand new quarterback that could be really good in Caleb Williams. Also, rookie quarterbacks often struggle. We have two new wide receivers entering the team here where, Keenan Allen could be done. He could be, last year he was on pace for 1,600 yards and 140 catches. Odunze, again, a guy, there's just huge error bars, I think, in the projection here where I think there's enough upside to be in on these wide receivers with the new price adjustment for Odunze. Yeah, I think it's like, people want to compare it to the JSN thing last year. I think it's very different just in terms of how much is changing on those teams and also the quality level of the prospect that I think in the 60s, I think Odunze is like a pretty solid pick there.
He is. Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. And again, he keeps falling. These ADPs.
This is like where JSN was going last year, and Caleb Williams
Yeah.
is like a better quarterback than Geno Smith.
Hopefully.
And it's the same offensive coordinator.
I've said it once. I'll say it again. Caleb Williams, you better not be bad this year because
he's not. I'm not allowing Caleb Williams FUD. I'll let you FUD like literally.
No, I'm not even fudding him. I'm just preemptively saying if he's bad, it's gonna be the collective U-turn the fantasy community is gonna do against Caleb Williams if he's bad with these receivers is gonna be incredible.
The online vitriol for Caleb Williams is gonna be very high if he's bad. Very, very high.
Yeah. Sam, would you mind sharing with us your drafts folder on Twitter? I'd like to see the Caleb Williams tweets in there.
Yeah, I've been pumping like 5 of those out a week in drafts. I'm just getting ready.
All right, can I do my?
You say Twitter's gonna turn on this guy so hard. Like, oh, is it?
It's gonna be me. Yeah, it's gonna be me.
Can I do my AD Mitchell bull posting before you guys say he stinks?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah.
So, pretty clear that the NFL viewed him as a very boom bust, very wide range of outcomes guy, evident by, him going behind objectively lower ceiling guys. I think like Pearsall, McConkey, kind of around like Roman Wilson style guys. But I think that at this new cost, we're kind of getting like a giant discount on what his ceiling is because his ceiling might be he's better than Michael Pittman. Like, I don't think any of us are really huge Michael Pittman bros. Like, I like the idea of pairing an elite wide receiver 1 with Anthony Richardson. So you've got that crazy like quarterback rushing ceiling, or maybe Anthony Richardson throws 47 passes one week. And like, I think Kyren, you said this, like Drake London is just Michael Pittman with a better publicist. But the underlying comment there is that, well, actually just means these guys are really not that good. They're good. I'm not saying Pittman's bad, but Pittman is
he's a target share merchant. Come on.
Yes, correct. And Downs is fine. Like I like Josh Downs.
I think Downs is good.
Yeah, Downs is good, sure. But AD Mitchell has the physical makeup and the flashes of being a guy who could be a star. I'm not going to say he is, and clearly the NFL is telling me that my analysis of him was wrong, that he actually is profiles to be a star.
We need to do some kind of, mad scientist experiment here and get Josh Downs' brain into AD Mitchell's body.
Yes. Yeah. Because Downs thinks he's him.
Yeah, he thinks we're taking that dude there's our second round. We're looking for second rounders. There's a second rounder. We get Josh Downs in AD Mitchell's body. I'm taking him. Might take that guy ahead of Marvin Harrison. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah,
but
I still think he has room to fall further. To be honest,
I do too.
AD Mitchell.
Actually, yeah.
Like he will. So I'm not super draft. Like I'm taking him sometimes, but like I think he ends up falling another 15 spots, maybe.
Yeah. Here's my thing with the Colts, and this could end up being a bad take, but Anthony Richardson, like, I get he's super exciting in fantasy in himself, but then I think people make the mistake of saying, like, oh, because Anthony Richardson is being drafted as the QB5, like, all of his weapons are then better picks. So we're taking the quarterback high. And, obviously it can work. Like, Jalen Hurts made AJ Brown and Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert, solid fantasy contributors. But to me, Richardson still has a ton to prove in the NFL as like a real good, like real life quarterback. And I don't know if we saw enough to like immediately be so excited about his supporting cast. Like, he's going to scramble so much. He's going to get a bunch of like rushing touchdowns, but that's just going to suck all the fantasy points like away from his teammates in some ways that I don't know. I'm kind of skeptical on all the Colts skill position players as a result of that.
I will say of these three guys, AD Mitchell sort of theoretically fits with Anthony Richardson the best.
All big plays, doesn't need 11 targets per game. It's just all flash and bang.
Touchdowns. Right? The whole thing is like, when is this guy going to show up? It's like, well, if he knows the ball's coming his way in, at the 7-yard line, I trust AD Mitchell to step. I mean, he scored a bunch of touchdowns at Texas. Like, I mean, is it sort of like a Plaxico Burress type of play where you're just like, hey, he doesn't do much, but he scores in the red zone, and you're getting him in the double-digit rounds here.
He could definitely score. He could definitely score like 11 touchdowns on like 84 targets.
Yeah. And I mean that if you're looking to stack Richardson,
is so
doubling
good.
up his passing touchdowns is exactly how you want to do it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could talk me back into AD Mitchell. I would love to take him more. Like, I have him ranked. I think he should be at like 120 instead of like 108. But I don't know. Maybe I've talked myself back into it a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say like 110 to 120 range, which is probably nitpicking where he goes now. Like, it's just obviously if I have Anthony Richardson, I'm considering him like where he's going now for sure.
Yes.
Like
I'm not considering. If I'm taking Anthony Richardson, I'm taking him.
Yeah.
Like what's the argument for not take? Like you really needed Rashee Shaheed. I guess I do kind of like Rashee.
Yeah,
I like Rashee.
Yeah. What you really need Jerry Jeudy on your Anthony Richardson team?
No, take him over Jeudy. Yeah,
Jerry Jeudy. Come on. Yeah. What was that contract that Jerry Jeudy got this offseason? That was
got to be the biggest contract ever for a wide receiver who's never had 1,000 yards.
Is that the worst contract the Browns have ever given out?
I can't think of any other bad ones. To be honest.
Nothing else.
That's all I can think of. Yeah.
I've got nothing. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, last guy I wanted to hit on here was Brock Bowers. The bottom of this chart. He's down 15 picks, pick 92. Yeah, I don't know. I honestly, like, I didn't do this for tight ends. I mapped out the landing spots for running backs and wide receivers. Like, I'm sure if I did this for tight ends, I would have had the Raiders ranked as like a bottom 10 landing spot for a tight end, right? Like, it's just bad. There's no way. There's no two ways around it. Quarterback Gardner Minshew competing with Jacoby Myers and Devontae Adams on a team that's going to have one of the lowest win totals. It's just.
Aren't you worried that you are literally personifying the middle IQ bell curve meme right now?
No.
Brock Bowers and the two sides are Brock Bowers go Burr, and you're in the middle going, well, the Raiders aren't a very good landing spot, and the QB play is not that good, and we just don't know.
My face is getting redder and redder.
I'm taking Bowers not because anything you said was wrong, but because it'll be so freaking obvious in hindsight that he was a good, like, by like week 4, you're like, oh, Bowers is catching 5.5 passes per game and he scored 3 times already. And you're just like, well, yeah, duh. Like, obviously that's what's going to happen. And I don't know, maybe he'll suck and Devontae Adams will take all the targets and it'll be a nightmare, but that doesn't feel the most likely thing to me.
So I would love to be in on Bowers, but like, I really think he needs to fall further. I mean,
he will, I think.
Like compared to what? So his
where does ETR have him ranked? Where does ETR have him ranked?
176.
I think like 120.
I think? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, Leone actually projects Mayer over Brock Bowers, I think.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I think that's probably closer to where he should be than his ADP. I think he should be in like 111 is where I think he should be. So he's got at least, he's got like 15 picks more than that to fall.
There's just too many good running backs there for me, like at pick 90. That's
the thing is it's just it's like I'll take a little bit of Jalen Warren, I'll take a little bit of Tony Pollard, I'll get some Trey Benson. You oftentimes if you have a Miami wide receiver or you have CD, like they're like all the quarterbacks there are good. Caleb is there, Daniels is there. Like it is a range where you're kind of trying to fill holes, so it's not all. And Bowers kind of feels like a luxury pick.
Yeah, here's the luxury pick thing that worries me is they drafted Michael Mayer last year. They actually signed Harrison Bryant to a $4 million contract this offseason. I think they went into this draft like preparing for Bowers to not be on the board at pick 13, or they thought a quarterback they liked was going to be on the board.
No, they thought they were taking Penix. They totally thought they were taking Penix.
This feels like a panic, like the guy who just bought the ESPN magazine before your fantasy draft, and like the guy he circled wasn't there, and he just panics and picks Michael Mayer at pick 13 in the NFL draft. Like, I just don't trust this Raiders organization to like have a coherent plan with Mayer. Obviously, they have plenty of time to figure it out, but this is like a luxury pick for an organization that's going nowhere. It just has a lot of red flags for me.
It has a lot of red flags for me too, but like I want to be in because I think Bowers is really good. The problem is that like he's going near Jake Ferguson, Dallas Goedert, David Njoku. I mean, I just don't really see how you take him over those guys. Like you're dealing with route issue early on, right? Like Mayer's probably playing ahead to begin the season. He's kind of like the Dalton Kincaid, like they're running a lot of 12 personnel, but like Bowers' route participation early on is probably like in the 60% range, 65% range. You're hoping he gets up by the end of the season to a full-time role, but then is he out targeting Jacoby Myers as the number 2 in this offense? Like I hope, but it's not a guarantee. This offense isn't going to be passing a ton, as we talked about earlier. So, like, that's all it, as a top 100 pick, like, that's a lot of things I'm kind of having to get right. If I can get him kind of where Dalton Kincaid was going last year, and I'm trading some of the Josh Allen upside for just like this guy's better than Kincaid upside, that's where I start to get interested. So get him outside of the top 100 picks, and I will start taking Bowers again happily. And kind of, I think he would fill a real hole in the draft. Like there's not really any tight ends in that range that we feel good about. Dalton Schultz is like the only guy kind of even in that vicinity that I feel okay about. I'm out on Hawkinson. So there's not really anyone there. Komet took a big hit with Odunze. So, he would actually like really be nice to have in that part of the draft. Kind of like Gus Edwards is going off the board, Tyjae Spears going off the board, and then Brock Bowers is sitting right there after that pocket of running backs is gone. That would be pretty sweet. So I really hope that's the way it goes. Right now, I'm not really drafting him.
I think he'll continue to fall. Let's wrap up here, guys. Best ADP risers from now to September. For people who weren't with us last year, this is a competition we do every show, trying to project the biggest closing line value guys on the board, and we'll tally it up together. Last stream of the year in September. So I started last time. I'll give it to you, Pat, to start this time because I'm honest. I play this game without cheating, taking the easy way out. So who do you want?
I haven't thought about this one bit.
I have a really good name, but I'm actually going to save it for a future week because I think he's going to fall more.
Smart.
Yeah, someone else go because I need to like literally think about what I'm going to do.
Davis, do you have one?
I will take Kimani Vidal. The slappies are going to get Vidal so much higher.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
The thing with that one is it's kind of like binary, right? Like he's either gonna That's either going to be a big win or like a
He
hilarious
doesn't
loss.
get drafted. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good one.
All right, I'll take Tyrone Tracy.
That was the other guy I was thinking about him. Yeah.
That's a good one. The one I'll go with, this is definitely a risk. I'm going to go with Rashee Rice. I think
that's who I was going to take. That's who I was going to take. But
that also crossed my mind because I think he's fall further.
Damn,
I'm going to take him in 2 weeks and
wait, are you allowed? Are we allowed to do that? I guess
we've done that before.
We've definitely done that. Yeah.
Sam in a closing line value game, getting the worst closing line value in that game.
because
I'm gonna just have to tout Rashee Rice on Twitter so much to keep his price elevated.
Crane and I both took McKinnon at multiple times last year.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, fuck this game. Fucking hate this game. I'm not tracking it this year.
It's week 2.
It's week 2. You got to wait for him to be like pick 83, and then the NFL says he's suspended for the first half of game 1.
Davis and I just playing chicken for the rest of this game. Who takes Rice?
Oh God. All right, that'll do it.
It was a good pick, though. It is a good. I mean, we definitely agree with you.
Yeah, like I think by September. Yeah. We'll see.
Paul says that's not fair.
That's not fair.
Yeah, I think we did. I think this is right from Neil. I think we tried to avoid repeats, but I did such a bad job tracking it that I could never like definitively say this is a repeat or it's not. So it just kind of quickly went off the rails.
I mean, I definitely took Tutu Atwell like 3 separate times, and he rose to like a 17th round pick.
I took Breece Hall at least twice, and I at one point had like a pivot off of it in case. And then I think you gave me credit for that, Sam.
Yeah.
Classic Crane.
I did. All right. That'll do it for ADP chasing. We'll be back next Monday, same time as always. I think we'll have Hayden Winks on as our first guest of the season. And yeah, we'll try to bully him out of his running back rankings. I've seen Hayden's got some running backs pretty high up there. So we'll do our best, Hayden. And I'm sure he's going to come pretty well prepared for that. Pat, I saw you wrote an article about a tree or something today. What else you got going on at Legendary Upside?
I did, and it's completely free. LegendaryUpside.com. Wrote an article. It's about actually. It's if you're watching the show, I think you'll really enjoy it. It's about how to build around big stands. So if you're taking big stands, 30% plus of a player, how do you think about what now? And then the article is really about that, but it's an extended metaphor that involves a mahogany tree that was found in 1965 in the Central American rainforest.
Beautiful.
So if you want to just like lose in a bunch of diversified ways with JSN, Pat will teach you how to do that. Davis, what about you? What do you have going on?
Just updated my ranks this morning. It's Dynasty rookie draft season. I'm in like 17 concurrent rookie drafts right now, so it's a lot of trying to get like 2026 third round picks out of people for very small trade.
Davis has already tilted me. I was talking with Anthony Amico, and I was trying to get Evan Ingram for a second, and then Davis got him for a second and like 3/4. So I was like, Amico could have asked if I would have given you 3/4. I probably would have.
Where you and I are in a real arms race in that league where, and I'm running out of picks. I got like 3 roster spots to fill, and I've got like a 2026 first left. Like plug the hole. So it's a real problem. So that's what I've got going on right now. If you're in a league with me, send me some trades.
Last thing I'll mention before we head out. Over at Establish the Run, they have a new best ball package they're working on over there. So $39 for the whole season, get ranks, all that good stuff. I'll be contributing to that throughout the season, probably more so in the summer. But yeah, have good stuff going on there. Anyways, we'll be back next week. See you guys.